So here's another type of percent related word problem. I don't think I'm going to write the whole problem down. I'm going to just read this problem, then talk about a similar problem, then maybe do this problem. So lawyers tend to sometimes work for a percentage of a client's winnings. In other words, if you're a lawyer, instead of charging somebody up front that might be broke, if they're trying to sue somebody and win a certain amount of money, if the lawyer wins the case, they'll get a percentage of what the client wins. So lawyers tend to sometimes work for a percent of clients' winnings. If you win a court case and are awarded $1.8 million and your lawyer's fee was 30%, how much does the lawyer get? All right, so let's just think about okay, so the winnings were 1.8 million. I'm going to write 1.8 million like this because that's what 1.8 million means, 1,800,000. Lawyer gets 30%. Well, let's think of smaller numbers. Let's say you have $100 and I want 30% of your money. That means I want 30 out of every $100 you have. And you have $100. So that means I want $30. Well, how did I get that? What if you had 200 and I said I wanted 30% of it? Well, notice that if you have 100 and I have 30% of it, or I get 30% of it, that would give me $30, right? What did I have to multiply this by to get $30? Well, 0.3. Remember how to change percent to decimals. 30% as a decimal is 0.3. So what you're doing is you're just multiplying the total amount by the percent written as a decimal, and that will give you the amount of money you get. So in other words, like I said, if I want 30% of 200, multiply 200 by 0.3. I'm trying to think if you can do this as a proportion too. You could write 200 since it's 30%. What would 30% of 200 be? Well, the number on the top will be 60. Okay, but this is an easier way to do it. You just take the amount of money, multiply it by the decimal that's the equivalent to the percent. You don't multiply 100 by 30 because 30% isn't the number 30, it's the number 0.3. So you just multiply the 100 by 0.3. So let's go back to our example. This example here. If I want to know how much I have to pay the lawyer, I just have to multiply 1.8 million by 0.3. I have no idea what that's going to be. I do, but I don't. But I do, but I don't. I mean, I don't. $540,000. So you owe your lawyer quite a bit of money. But you're going to wind up with quite a bit of money too, so that's all good. All right, so that's another type of percent problem. I want to do a couple more. Markdown questions, problems. Usually in a store, when they mark something down, sometimes they just tell you how much it's actually taken off. There might be something normally for $50 and they say $10 off. Well, And then they might even say that now it costs $40. So there's nothing for you to figure out. But sometimes they might have a whole section of things that just has everything in this section is marked 20% down or something. Well, what if there's something that's cost $120 and it's marked down almost wrote something I didn't want to write there. So maybe everything on this wall is marked down 40%. One of the items normally costs $120. Instead of having to change the price on everything, they just say, well, they have the old prices there, so this costs $120. And instead of calculating everything on the wall, they just say everything's marked down 40%. So what is this item that you want going to cost now? So all they have to do is figure out, these are called markdown problems, by the way. It means, first of all, the item's going to cost less now. So you should estimate what you think it's going to cost. You should always estimate in word problems. We went over that before. Okay, so, well, I know if it's 50% off. Most people know if something's 50% off. Remember, 50% means 0.5 or 1/2. It means it's half price. So if this was 50% off, it would cost $60. It's not quite 50% off. 40% off. Marked down 40%. So it's not going to cost, it's not going to go all the way down to $60. It's probably going to be around $70. So I'm going to estimate, so the question is, how much does it cost now? I'm going to estimate $70. Makes sense. Now my estimate's probably not going to be correct, but it should be in that area. Okay, if it's in that area, then I did the problem right. So what is 40%? Markdown 40% means they take 40% of the price and subtract it. They get rid of it. Well, what is 40% of 120? Well, we just talked about how to do that, right? You take the number 120 and multiply it by the decimal representation of 40%. So I know I can do this one in my head. 48. Okay? So 120 times 0.4 is 48. So that's not the answer though. Right? That's how much is going to be taken off. So then you have to take what's here and subtract it from the original price. So my my estimate was $70, and I get an answer of 72. I'm thinking, you know what? My answer is probably correct because it's really close to what I guessed it would be. That's one way to know. Some people might stop here and just say, well, I did, you know, that's something that people do in math is, I've noticed, is they do one step and they're like, I did it. I did the step. This must be the answer. Well, some problems have more than one step. So your first aim was to determine how much money actually gets taken off. And then now you have to determine what that means the price is going to be. So, knowing that you estimated 70, first of all, this couldn't be right? Like, the answer has to be at least 60 or greater because it's not half off. It's only marked down 40%. If it was marked all the way down half off, it would be $60, but it's not going to be that low because 40% off is obviously less than 50% off. So your answer has to be above 60. So you should realize that. So you realize that you're not done. This is not the answer. You have to subtract that from 72. Let's do one more problem sort of like this, and then that will be it. Remember, you can watch these videos over. I know you probably don't want to see me more than once, but this is better than a lecture in a way that you can watch it over again. The only thing bad about it is you can't ask questions while I'm doing it, but you still can ask questions at office hours that nobody comes to, and email me. A lot of people email me and I respond to their emails and then they don't respond back. That's on you. If you have a question, ask, keep up with it. Okay, so this last question. A store, I'm going to lose my voice. A store reduced the price of a computer by 10% and sold it for $1,080. How much did it originally cost? So I'm going to just write down the facts. Store reduced, almost wrote deduced. Okay, so a store reduced the price of a computer by 10%. They sold it for $10.80. How much did it cost originally? So, always remember our poly is 4 steps, right? You should read a problem, which means to read it, reread it, reread it, reread it. I added too many reads there. I was going to go in order, but basically read it until you understand it. By understand it, I mean you have to know what they're asking for, what the important information in the problem is, things like that. So you read the problem, understand it. That's like the first step. The second step is you devise a plan to carry out. Then you carry out the plan is the third step. Fourth step is to look back, review, see if you did something wrong. If you think you're right, then you're good. Okay, so I'm reading the problem. Okay, and remember I'm going to estimate an answer too. So a computer costed something originally. The store reduced the price by 10%. Now they sold it for $10.80. What did the computer cost originally? Well, they reduced the price. You know, it went on sale or something. Now it costs $10.80. What did the computer cost before? Did it cost more or less? Well, it cost more originally because they reduced the price. We don't know how much more yet because we haven't really put much thought into it, but the original price of the computer is greater than this. So if you set up the problem wrong and get an answer that's less than $10.80, you should immediately know that you did something wrong. You can't have a computer cost this much, reduce the price, and then this price originally was less than this price. So the original price of the computer is more than $10.80. We don't know what it is yet. We haven't figured that out. Okay, but we know it's more. Well, I'm going to estimate, since 10% is not much, I'm going to maybe estimate that it was, I don't know, $1,200. Okay, that'll be my estimate. Seems about right. Remember, this number here has to be greater than that. I don't know if I'm right, but at least this number here is greater than that, so it could be right. So, we don't know, remember, this was just an estimate. We don't really know what this was. We don't know what the computer cost originally. Now, here's where sometimes people might, instead of using X, they might use a letter to know what they're talking about. Like, you could say O for original price, but I don't like that because it looks like a zero. So maybe I'll put B. B is just a variable instead of using X. It means the original price or beginning price. If you multiply the beginning price by 10%, which remember is a decimal, is 0.10 or 0.10, you're going to get, oops, I almost wrote 1080. Here, let me write, it's not, I don't want to call it a formula, but it's sort of like a formula. If you know the beginning price, and then you know how much is being taken off. Remember, the amount that's going to be taken off is the original price times the percent expressed as a decimal. You know the final price is going to be 1080. I left a blank here because what am I going to do? This is either add or subtract. Well, remember, I said that the computer had to cost more to begin with because it's being reduced to 1080. So if I have a higher number than this here, I have to subtract something from it to get a lower number. So this is the beginning price, this is the amount of the discount, that's the final price. Okay. So B is still B. B times 0.10 is 0.1 B. Now, there's not a number out here, but there really is, the number 1. Right? So, this becomes an algebra problem. 1B minus 0.1B, 0.9B. Okay, so you have 0.9B equals 1080. Don't be worried about a decimal, right? You do the same thing. To get rid of the 0.9, you divide by 0.9 on both sides. So you get B is 1080 divided by 0.9. I was supposed to do 2 more videos for another class today, but I think I'm losing my voice. Probably can't do that. So 1080 divided by 0.9 is, oh my god, it's 1200 exactly. My estimate was pretty good. Now, we read the problem, understood it, we devised the plan, we carried the plan out. We could check our answer. If the computer cost $1,200 originally and it was discounted by 10%, 1,200 times 0.1 is 120. That means you take the original amount and subtract 120 and you get 1080. So 1,200 is the original amount. So I'm sorry this video took so long, but hopefully you'll watch it at twice speed, or if you like long videos, you'll watch it at half speed.